dialogues. And just before we go, we'll bring you some updates in our world of business, where the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana are calling for removal of the special import levy in the 2026 budget. The details of these stories and many others coming up shortly. Just stay with us. You're welcome once again to the bulletin. The minority in Parliament rejected the vetting and subsequent approval of Chief Justice nominee Justice Paul Bafo-Boni. The decision to boycott the process was announced by Minority Leader Alexander Fenyom-Mark following hours of a back and forth with Majority Leader Mahama Yariga, which led to a suspension of the session of the Appointments Committee for over an hour. The sitting was characterized by exchange of words between both leaders in counter-accusations. The clash happened after the Minority Leader Alexander Fenyom-Mark described Justice Paul Bafo-Boni as a disputed nominee.
We reject the nomination, and the records should reflect that the report of this committee be a majority report.
Woman, comport yourself.
Honorable colleague, when we show you respect, reciprocate. So far, we have extended to you every courtesy. We've heard all those unpalatable words. We've heard the abuse. So please, for posterity's sake, listen to us. We don't need to vet a nominee before we vote against the nominee. We have preliminary issues well grounded in law. You may disagree with us. And we say that on the basis of that, we cannot be part of a process that would give right to another and deny another of her bona fide as enshrined in the Constitution. Chairman, that said, we would yield to you to proceed whilst we exit this committee room with our views well documented for the records, and on the floor we shall proceed with the debate, further stating our position and take a vote against the nominee as required by the rules of the plenary. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Minority Leader. But how do you reject a nominee who is yet to be vetted?
Should I respond?
The report is not ready to be voted for. We are not at a stage of approval. So your conclusion is very preemptive.
No, Chairman, let me.
Chairman
will respect. Chairman would.
This is not what I want you to respond to.
No, Chairman.
So
but
I don't want your response on this.
To the extent that you've raised it, I just need to. Chairman, please. I just need to.
Honorable Minority Leader, you have your day.
Chairman,
you have your day. The two microphones will be off.
Chairman,
The two microphones should be off, with all due respect.
We have registered our position.
Honorable Minority Leader,
that we have rejected.
We agreed on your position.
We rejected, and we
agreed on your position. Yes. Yeah. When it is time for voting, then you can vote against the nominee. Yes. So we thank you very much, and we wish you a very good luck. Honorable members.
Why you wishing us a good luck?
We were just brought to you a sense of what happened earlier concerning the vetting of Chief Justice nominee of the President, Justice Paul Bafo-Boni. But following that particular workout by the minority, the vetting process went on as planned, with the majority taking charge with the appointment committee system. That we have joining us now for a conversation on all the happenings of today, the MP for Swami and legal counsel to the Minority Caucus of Parliament, John Darko. Counsel, Honourable, good evening. We are grateful that you could join us for this conversation. The position that many were in terms with was the fact that the minority was going to sit throughout this particular vetting process because your leader had indicated so. In his words, never would you walk out. What led to this position now to actually walk out of this vetting?
Thank you and good evening to your cherished viewers. I mean, what led to our walkouts is obvious. The majority leader, who is a member of the committee, took charge and virtually became the chairman of the committee, dictating what to say and what not to say, and had sworn that in his view, so long as he is there, he will not allow the Honourable Osahene Afenyo-Markin to breach the rules of Parliament, as if he's the chair of the committee. Yeah. In our job, it is only the speaker or any person presiding or in committee meetings, the chairperson who decides what is right or what is wrong. And the majority leader today decided that instead of the chair of the committee, he would rather take charge and decide which words the minority leader can use and what he can say, what he cannot say. I mean, that is most unfortunate because I don't believe that is how we want to build our democracy. In fact, in democracy worldwide, the minority is always allowed to have a say, and then the majority can have their way. It's perfectly right. You can vote us out on any issue, and we are perfectly fine with that because the people of Ghana give you the numbers. But so long as they voted for us to be in the House, we must have our say. And today I was so disappointed in the majority leader. His attitude was completely uncalled for, and he practically took charge, more or less drove the chairman out of the seat and determined what words to say or what words not to say. And you saw that. It took us well over 2-3 hours for the minority leader to actually present his view or the view of the minority. Now, having gone through that, we realized that, look, these people were so intolerant and they were not even ready to listen to us. And I believe that the best position is what we took, which was to just walk out at that moment. We we're part of the vetting committee. We will vote at the right time. Our intention has been made clear that the decision will be a majority decision. It is not going to be a consensus decision. And so we made our position clear, and mainly as a result of what Agyabeng did today. And of course, if you look at what has happened, and that is what the minority leader tried to convey to the people of Ghana, the injustice, the travesty of justice, the violation of our constitution, the way the former Chief Justice has been dragged in the mud, how the former Chief Justice has been denied her right. Look, our own rules of Parliament under Order 103 requires that where matters are sub judice, where matters are before the court, we are refrained from, as it were, deliberating on the issues. These issues were brought before the Speaker. The Speaker said he wasn't even going to admit it for us to debate it on the floor of Parliament. That is how far this crop of Democrats, if I may put it that way, have gone. Now, even to have your view on the floor of Parliament is prescribed, So the Speaker doesn't allow that. We come to this committee to at least make our position known. That is also not allowed. So then what is the essence of sitting down to, as it were, continue to be a part of a process which we believe is fait accompli? I mean, it's going to become the Chief Justice anyways, but that we will sit through when we cannot be allowed to even ask questions. It means that there's really no point. And that is why we worked out at a point.
Now, Mr. Honorable Darko, the issue in contention here where the minority and the majority, by way of your leadership, disagreed was largely on a matter of...
No, not the leadership, all of us. Okay, yeah.
Right.
So it's all minority members.
Sure, that's granted. But it's based on a preliminary statement which was being made by the leader of the minority caucus of the House. Now, given the very last point you made where you wanted to communicate your position on a certain matter, and you believe you were not allowed to do so, should it then not be the case that you have the Chief Justice nominee seated right before you, you have the opportunity to throw your questions to him? But in another vein, one would say that the matters of the courts are not supposed to be dealt with at the vetting committee. There is a matter pending before the court. Is the court not the right place? That's as the appointments committee chair said. Is the court not the right place for these matters to be discussed? The matters of the appointments committee left to be done by the appointments committee?
No, but you see, so if you're going straight by the 103, then we should have even taken the matter in the first place. And that's the point we're making. That the matter is before the court. If 103 says that when a matter is before the court and it's sub judice, we cannot comment on it, then why are we even empaneling this appointment committee in the first place? Well, why are we vetting him in the first place?
Pardon me to come in. There is currently, and perhaps you can help me with some education, there is currently no injunction on the vetting of or the nomination of a new CJ. And so is the appointments committee not doing what is constitutionally mandated to do by way of the vetting, following the president's nomination?
A smart one. And that should tell you the politics at play. Look, the injunction application, when it was sent, the injunction application was dealt with immediately. But the substantive matter has been put on abeyance, it's been put on hold. And that is the point we were making, that for the past 6 months, the substantive matter is not being heard. Why is the substantive matter not being heard? The Attorney General did not file his defense, went to court, and then the Supreme Court gave him 3 weeks within which to file his defense. And that is what the minority leader was even saying, that the Supreme Court themselves, by the CI-16, they give you only 2 weeks. When you go and apply for extension of time within which to file your process, this time we give him 3 weeks. When for the past 6 months, he could have filed his processes. He decided not to file. So clearly, you see that there's an agenda. But you see, even in the absence of injunction application, our rules say that when the matter is sub judice, we cannot comment on it. And so it doesn't matter the form of the sub judice. Okay, whether it is an injunction application, so long as there's a case pending before the court which hasn't been heard, and if you comment on it, when you deal with it, it's going to have consequence. Now that the Chief Justice has been vetted and is going to be approved, by the NDC, he becomes the Chief Justice. Now, what if the matter is decided in her favor? What happens? And so our point was that please let's hasten slowly. We are not saying that this case, the Parliament cannot take it. No. We are not saying that Parliament should stay its hands off it completely. No. We are saying that Parliament should take its time, Parliament should just hold on and encourage the Supreme Court to finish the case. So that when the case is finally determined, all of us can, with one hand, say, okay, the case has been finally determined. The Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, is no longer Chief Justice. She has exhausted all her rights. Then we can all come in and vet the current nominee. That's the point we're making. But when that point was made by the Honorable Minority Leader in the House on Friday, the Speaker of Parliament said no. And then he's trying to put this across for the people of Ghana to hear. And then he says, the Majority Leader also says, no, we will not even allow you to say that. So with all of this, what's the essence of asking questions? There's no sense in continuing to ask questions when your case you want to put across, you will not be allowed to put that case across. And so, my brother, for us, the point must be made clear that nobody has personal scores to settle with the nominee. Nobody has an issue with the nominee. If you look at his CV, he's well qualified to become the CJ in his own right. Nobody has a problem with it. But we believe that even in their haste to make him a Supreme Court judge, let's, go by the processes. Let's respect our own laws and constitutions. Let's respect our own procedures, okay? And for us, we believe that this haste in trying to finish the vetting and make him a Chief Justice is wrong. And if for us in the minority, we want to make our point on this and we will not be allowed, then what's the essence of continuing sitting there to ask questions? You won't even be allowed to ask questions because the Majority Leader says, so long as he is there, he won't allow anybody to breach the rules, as if he is the one who determines who can speak or not. But you know what happened? The Speaker, the First Deputy Speaker, who is the chairman of the appointment committee, allowed him to continue to interject. Anything the Honorable Agyabeng wanted to say, he will make sure that he will interject, just so that he will throw him off his thoughts. That was completely unacceptable. But look, it looks like they were fine with it, and I'm just worried for our democracy. If we think this is okay, I am very, very worried. This is definitely not okay. We should respect the views of the minority. And then when it gets to the point of voting and you can vote for him. But to stifle us, you will allow us to speak. For me, was completely unacceptable.
Now, Honorable, I just want to find out, after staging the walkout, did you take time to at least follow the proceedings of the appointments committee? If you did, what are your impressions?
I did not, honestly speaking.
You did not follow? So, but you just mentioned that you have no qualms whatsoever with the nominee. You believe he's an excellent person. But then if you did not follow, let me just change it over and come back to the position where I speak of the fact that if it's a political strategy, then it means that the leader's wisdom had already dawned onto him that the majority, quote unquote, was going to do something like this. And he had said it, that never would he or the minority walk out. So more like it, you saw what was going to happen today. And you said you were not going to walk out. Was there any form of external pressure? Was it from the party? Or was it a decision that you took as a caucus?
No, there was no external pressure on anybody. And definitely not on me or the minority leader. Look, we had said that we were going to take part. And that is why we were dressed up, came there in the morning. I had read his bio. I had read some of his judgments. I had my questions. So were my other colleagues, they all had their questions. They were ready to ask the necessary questions because look, what we do there is advice and consent. We vet and then advise the president, and then if we approve him, of course, he will become the Chief Justice. So we had prepared. Except that when you got there and saw the poster of the Majority Leader, okay, the fact that he will not even allow the Minority Leader to put his case across, we realized that look, this guy has become a tyrant. He decides what question you can ask, what you can say. He's just a member of parliament like all of us. He just happens to be the Majority Leader. He doesn't have more power than anybody on the floor of parliament for him to decide what he will say. And I'm saying that in the end, he eventually became the chairman of the committee. He determined who can speak. Agyabeng could determine who can speak. He became so disrespectful even to the chairman of the committee. More or less, he served his powers. He spoke without being invited. That was so disrespectful. You don't do that. And so this continuous interjection, that is what delayed the whole process. And then we realized that there was no need to continue because he has said he will allow us, and the chairman of the committee allowed him to continue to engage in that act. We thought it was very wrong. So there was really no point for us to continue. And that is why we worked out without causing any sin whatsoever. So it wasn't our plan all along that we were going to work out. No, our plan was to stay. But it was the behavior of the majority leader that led us to work out of the process.
Honorable John Darko, we are grateful that you could speak with us here on News Tonight. He is the Member of Parliament, the Honorable Member of Parliament for the Swami constituency, and as well legal advisor to the Minority Caucus in Ghana's legislature. Let's still bring you some other stories. And here, the Acting Minister for Defense, Dr. Kasiola Tuba-Forson, has submitted a report on the August 6 helicopter crash that claimed the lives of some 8 gallant Ghanaians. The report, as you do understand, was submitted to the president early today, and details of that particular report will be made public tomorrow, according to Minister for Government Communications, Phyllis Kwachi Ofosu. As you do know, the 30-day time frame given to the committee set up to look at the events leading to this crash has expired, and indeed they have finally submitted a report through the Defense Minister, Acting Defense Minister, Dr. Kasiola Tuba-Forson, to the President. Tomorrow, we'll bring you up to speed on what the details of that report is. You're still watching News Tonight. Stay with us. We are back shortly. In Business Tonight, we speak about the 2026 budget statement and economic policy of the government. And here, the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, the IAG, are asking for government to scrap the 2% special import levy. According to the association led by its Executive Secretary, Samson Agyabeng, but they are happy with the fiscal responsibility demonstrated by government so far, with the macroeconomic indicators showing some positive signs. They are happy with inflation dropping to 8%. They are happy with the US dollar dropping to some 10.9 Ghana cedis, to the exchange rate dropping to 10.9 Ghana cedis to the dollar, per latest figures from the Bank of Ghana. But they are asking that to alleviate some of their burden as businessmen and women. They are asking the government makes a consideration of the special import levy of 2%, saying that it should be scrapped in the 2026 budget. According to the association, they have made similar plea for the removal of COVID levy as well as part of government's revenue sources in 2026. Already, government had hinted at that particular removal of that tax line, but the IAG sends a clear reminder that that removal sends a firm commitment of government to supporting businesses in the country.
This brief was brought to you by CompuGhana, passion for technology.
Many thanks for your company throughout this broadcast. This has been News Tonight. My name is Emmanuel. Agyabeng. For more news updates, log on to starfm.com.gh. We are grateful that you could join us for this broadcast.